Up, we'll invite Mike Delaney, founder of the Raccoon River Watershed Association.
Wow, I feel like a lightweight. I am a lightweight, but I do have a story for you. In 1988, my family and I bought a little piece of land on the North Raccoon River. I'm a paddler, I'm an angler, I've got a Labrador that loves the water, and we were looking for a way to access and use the North Raccoon River. That was in '88. So I put in a prairie, tried to improve the woodland, got honeybees, an orchard, a garden. I mean, this little piece of paradise. It is a wonderful piece of ground. And the river in '88, we swam in it, we fished in it, we paddled in it. And I was thinking today, maybe it had something to do with the farm crisis, that things began to deteriorate after '88. I began to see a decline in the quality of the water. My dog has had problems with ear infections, eye infections, rashes. Paddlers were complaining about rashes on their arms just going down the river. It's like, whoa. So we stopped swimming in the river. We still paddle on it, but I don't recommend that you get in the river if you've got an open sore, because a good friend of mine dumped his canoe and struggled to get out of the river and had to go over a log jam, got into some wood, and he got a sliver under his fingernail. And then that night his thumb swelled up. The next day the doctor put him on a very serious antibiotic because of fear of an antibiotic-resistant bacteria that was really going to go after him. So those are specific examples of particular problems. I founded the Raccoon River Watershed Association with 7 friends and neighbors because I thought the river needed a voice. Didn't seem like anybody was speaking for the river or any aspect of our natural environment. We have organizations that defend it, but it doesn't sound like the voice is very large coming from our rivers and our lakes. Any voice that's coming is not being heard by people in power. So that organization started off with an attempt to improve the water trail with signage and maps and encourage people to get on the river and use the river with the hope that people would get out there and care more. COVID has really done the job on getting people out in nature, and a lot of people are coming down the river, but some of them on rafts and inner tubes, and they don't really know the dangers that are there from a river that carries that much bacteria. It's impaired really for nitrogen and phosphorus and bacteria, no matter what the DNR tells you right now. Since it is on the impaired waters list, then they take it off the map and say, we're doing something about it, but they're not. So that whole thing's kind of farcical as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can tell. I guess I've mentioned a few things, and I wanted to say also that we've been out testing the water recently. The U.S. Geological Survey has 3 locations on the Raccoon River where you get real-time monitoring of nitrogen levels. Soybean Association has tested the water. Des Moines Water Works has got data. Iowa Water did a lot of testing, so we have a lot of information about that river. And of course, with the Hydrological Institute and all, we have a lot of information about the problems in our water. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that our legislature or other agencies are responding to the information we've got. Matter of fact, we continually hear that things are getting better, farmers are doing a lot of stuff, and blah, 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 but things are getting worse. So we've been doing some testing. I was testing yesterday 20 sites upstream of Squirrel Hollow, which we're concerned about because of a confinement that's going in above there. And we found nitrogen levels between 20 and 50 milligrams per liter. Oh. So it's no wonder that the waterworks is struggling now to try to get the nitrogen out to the level that people can consume. So we're the Raccoon River Watershed Association, the Iowa League, a lot of organizations are trying to do something about the conditions of our rivers and lakes. But we certainly are not getting much help from the Iowa legislature or any of the agencies that are supposed to be monitoring our water or making improvements in that water. So that's my personal story. I'm still at it. I still hope we can do better than what we're doing currently. So Mike Delaney, I'm with the Isaac Walton League and a proud Iowan. I know we can do better.
Thank you. Judges, do we have any questions for Mike?
Well, if Iowa is ground zero, the Raccoon River is the core of ground zero of the sacrifice state, as Bill Stowe, may he rest in power, called us. So I would like you to comment on the fact that in the Raccoon River watershed, farmers were in the position to receive lots of money for conservation payments, and they actually turned that money down, and that money had to be returned. So how does a voluntary strategy work if nobody volunteers?
I think everybody in the room knows that the voluntary strategy is not working. The nutrient reduction strategy is not working. I read Chris Jones. He makes people very unhappy because he's very direct. But I'll tell you what I've learned from the Isaac Walton League. 100 years ago, trout fishermen got together in Chicago and started an organization that was dedicated to clean up the water. And finally, in 72, I think it was, 75 something, we have the Clean Water Act. But farmers are exempted. So that's what we're dealing with. Farmers can pollute. And there's nothing that you and I can do about it except testify. I've done a lot of that. And I mean, a lot of us have testified, but I found that it doesn't do any good to testify anymore. Those organizations are controlled by the opponents. So the voluntary system is not working.